Macmillan Audio presents D-Day by Rick Atkinson with Kate Waters. Read for you by Jason Culp. A note to listeners. My father was a soldier, which made me an army brat. He enlisted in the army when he was 18 years old, in 1943, about halfway through World War II. He became a lieutenant and arrived in Europe just after the war there ended. A few years later, my father came home to America, went to college, got married, and went back into the army, this time to make it a career. Once again, he was sent to war-torn Europe. I was born in Germany, but we lived for several years in Austria, which was still occupied by American troops. I guess it's no wonder that I have always been fascinated by World War II. It was the worst catastrophe in human history, a time of great heroes, of bravery and sacrifice, but also a time of great villains, of cowardice and horrible crimes. 70 years after it was fought, the war continues to influence our lives today. Whether or not your great-grandfather or great-grandmother served in the military or worked in a war production factory, chances are it was the most exciting, terrifying, and memorable period of their lives. World War II is also the greatest story of the 20th century, and my hope is that you will get to know this story, because it tells us a lot about who we are as a nation and what events shaped the world you know today. Rick Atkinson, Washington, D.C. The Plan. The Gathering, May 5th, 1944. In this room, the greatest Anglo-American military leaders of World War II gathered to rehearse the death blow intended to destroy Adolf Hitler's Third Reich. It was the 1,720th day of the war. Admirals, generals, field marshals, logisticians, and staff by the score climbed from their limousines and marched into a Gothic building of St. Paul's School. American military policemen, known as snowdrops for their white helmets, white pistol belts, white leggings, and white gloves, looked closely at the 146 engraved invitations and security passes distributed a month earlier. Then, 6 uniformed ushers escorted the guests, later described as big men with the air of fame about them, into the model room, a cold auditorium with black columns and hard, narrow benches, reputedly designed to keep young schoolboys awake. The students of St. Paul's School had long been evacuated to rural England. German bombs had shattered 700 windows across the school's campus. Top-secret charts and maps now lined the model room. Since January, the school had served as headquarters for the British 21st Army Group, and here, the detailed planning for Operation Overlord, the Allied invasion of France, had gelled. As the senior officers found their benches in rows B through J, some spread blankets across their laps or cinched their overcoats against the chill. Row A, 14 armchairs arranged elbow to elbow, was reserved for the highest of the mighty, and now these men began to take their seats. The Prime Minister of England, Winston Churchill, dressed in a black coat and holding his usual Havana cigar, entered with U.S. General Dwight D. Eisenhower, whose title, Supreme Commander of the Allied Expeditionary Force, signaled his leadership over all of the Allied forces in Europe. Neither cheers nor applause greeted them, but the assembly stood as one when King George VI strolled down the aisle to sit on Eisenhower's right. Churchill bowed to his monarch, then resumed puffing his cigar. As they waited to begin,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?